Hello, this is Bev and Kate from the Clear Thinking Partnership, and this is Card Conversations. And before we came on air, we chose a card at random to reflect on today, and we chose curious. And the flip side of curious is, oh, that way, uninterested. So, Kate, what has made you curious this week, and what have you learned?
Thank you, Bev. What's made me curious? Well, today actually, I've had this morning the opportunity to attend the L&D laboratory in Southport, which is a place where L&D folk can be just really, actually, really curious about things, anything that is linked to learning and development. And the topic that we were exploring this morning was about AI and our kind of fascination, stroke curiosity with that. And I know for a fact that curiosity really energizes me. So asking questions, finding out more, all of that kind of thing. So I knew I was in for an exciting morning, and it was really lovely to see all different opinions, that real kind of diversity of where AI fits, because it fits in loads of different places and all the different kind of points of curiosity that people had that they were sharing. But also one of the things that we were talking about was some people's fearfulness of where AI is going and what that might mean. And I think one of the things that it made me or got me thinking about, and your question about what have you learned, is maybe the role that curiosity plays in helping people not feel quite so scared of things. So if you can get into a curious mindset that allows you to just lift the lid just a little bit and explore, perhaps in a really small way, and not think of it from a big picture point of view, but just pick on one thing, then that curiosity potentially does help to drive a feeling of a bit more ease and comfort versus being just totally blown away and scared by the whole prospect. And I think that I hadn't thought of that before, but actually thinking about curiosity and what it allows you to do, that was one of the things that I have noticed. What about you, Bev? What curious things have happened to you this week?
Well, so I had an experience on Tuesday of a labyrinth, and I didn't realize that a labyrinth and a maze were different. The internet will tell you they are the same thing in some corners of the internet, and they're not. And so, a labyrinth, you can't go wrong in a labyrinth. You can't get lost like you can in a maze. I also learnt a trick for how to not get lost in a maze whilst we were doing the labyrinth thing. But a labyrinth is a space for contemplation. So you set off into the labyrinth and you walk and you follow the pathway. And so it reminded me of Street Wisdom. So you know the activities you do in Street Wisdom where you look for certain things, but you slow right down. So um, slow paces. There were a lot of us in a very small labyrinth, um, but we followed it around, and then um, you encounter other people who are coming on the way back through the labyrinth because they've got to the center. And when you get to the center of the labyrinth on your contemplation, you turn around, you leave whatever you wanted to leave there, and then you walk back, perhaps with something new, fresh, and different. Um, so it was interesting because when you bump into people, you then have to either step out of the labyrinth or, do a little twirl and a dance, whatever. But then at the end, when we reflected on what we learned through the experience, it was really interesting because there were so many so many different insights people had, so many things people connect to. And I think it was curious because for me, for the variety of what people saw and how they made those connections. But it was really rich and lovely hearing what people had to say. But I just think we miss that opportunity sometimes to see what the richness and the divergence and the difference in people's experience of a single thing, because we
Mm.
all had the same experience, and yet we were all having a different experience. So I think that's really important to keep that in mind because it's happening all the time, not just when you're in a labyrinth. um, what about uninterested? Where have you
Oh.
noted uninterest this week?
Yeah, so I had a meeting with somebody, and reportedly the meeting was about finding out a little bit more about me in order for them to say some things about me at a meeting. Um, and it was really interesting because I was like, so we've what do you want to know? And they were like, well, I think I know enough actually. And they were really it was very funny, but they were kind of uninterested, but they were very interested in sharing their thoughts about stuff. And I tried to drag it back a little bit to me because, obviously I'm very important. But no, that was it. And I don't think that they realized that they were being or demonstrating that kind of feeling of uninterested, but it kind of hit me loud and clear. And I think yeah, it got me thinking about the things that you do that go unnoticed to yourself, but are glaringly obvious to others. And I suppose I'm tying that back to I've been doing a little bit of prep for a session next week, which contains Johari's window. So thinking about that open, blind, hidden kind of window and the impact that we have that perhaps is not intended, but quite glaringly obvious. So yeah. That was my little bit. What about you, Bev?
Yeah.
What has
It's a
what's
it's a really innocent thing, isn't it, to be
mm,
uninterested in something because you think you have everything that you need. So not quite this week, but just over a week ago, I was on Question Time in the audience, and what really struck me was how easy it is to be uninterested in the opinions of a panel of people. So you you kind of get to a point where because what they say seems to rub up against your values and you don't agree with the content or the sentiment of what they say, it's very easy to sort of switch off and not make the effort and to be uninterested. And what was really then interesting for me was that it's made me more interested in understanding why someone can hold the opinion they hold because it seems so alien to me. And there's no danger in that. There's no issue with that. Somebody can, everyone thinks an array of different things, but it was really interesting just to notice how much you can be repelled by someone's thoughts and ideas and the language that they use, and also how that language reduces the capacity for some people to even be curious.
mm,
So kind of going full circle, there are some things that people say that make it almost like, well, there's no point in even being curious about that then, is there? Because yes, absolutely, that got that nailed on. And so it shuts down the thinking rather than opening it up. And I suppose in conversations, you need to get to a point where things are things converge and things close
mm,
down, particularly if you're making a decision or whatever. But I thought that was really interesting, and that little experience.
mm.
And talking of things converging and coming to a point, let this be the end of card conversations. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I'm very happy to converge at that point. Fantastic. I've enjoyed it. Thanks, Bev.
Fantastic. So we've been Kate and Bev from the Clear Thinking Partnership. This has been Card Conversations. We'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.